welcome to another episode of the Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, today, I have a very different episode for you, okay? This is not going to be your regular solo episode. This is actually going to be a call that I had with my copywriter, Brent. And so, if you don't know what a copywriter is, basically, he writes all of my emails for me. So, you know those emails that you get every once a week? I'm not actually the one writing them. Now, all the ideas are coming from me and the premise of the email is coming from me, but I've hired someone to actually write them. Because if you've been following me like on Instagram or on any of my channels, or if you just know me personally, you know that I am terrible at writing. Like literally the number of typos that come out of me are absurd. And I do not proofread anything. So anytime that you see a bunch of typos and things in something, it's usually because I wrote it myself. And I've always had this problem like since college. English and writing was just never, ever my forte. And so literally last year, I realized like I was having so much anxiety around just like writing my weekly emails. So I ended up hiring someone to help me with those. And wow, like huge difference. And this is why you actually see emails come out from me once a week. And also, if you're not on my email newsletter, DM me the word newsletter and so that you can get on it, because we have some great information and content that is in those newsletters every single week. We get so much good feedback from it. So go ahead and get on the newsletter subscription. But yeah, so I love speaking, right? Like I love podcasting and being on videos and all of that. Writing, not so much. And so I have this weekly call with my copywriter, Brent. And it's so funny because this one actually ended up turning into a somewhat mini coaching session. And a lot of the ideas and concepts in this call that I had with him, I think is just going to be so incredibly valuable for you and for everyone else out there, because these are the kind of conversations that people are having behind closed doors, right? These are some higher level conversations that you only get whenever you're in like $10,000 or plus masterminds and only around like super successful people. And I want to show you like, these are the conversations, these are the kind of rooms that you need to be getting into in order to like skyrocket your business and your life and everything. And it also kind of just like opens up the curtains so you can see my coaching style, especially like these are the kind of conversations, the kind of things I tell my students, my Wanderlust Wealth Academy students. But you can really see how I think through things. I really think that this is going to be such a good episode for anyone who feels like they're stuck, right? Like you're just kind of in a little bit of analysis paralysis. Maybe you're about to reach rock bottom, or you're just finding yourself in a rut, not knowing how to get out of it. This episode is going to be for you. So I cannot wait for you to listen to it. Let me know what you think. Also, it's totally, fully unscripted. There were no notes. We're just kind of chatting and talking. I think it's going to be a really fun episode where you'll just like glean a lot of insights. And who knows, maybe you'll have a breakthrough. Okay, let's get into it.
I've been interested in identity and the role that plays in success and making progress and stuff like that. And people get so married to who they are and their habits and, you know, oh, well, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I watch TV, I go to bed, I do it again. And that's who I am. And that's what I will be. But, you know, that's a identity you subscribe to.
That whole concept though should be another email.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to like see if you had any thoughts about that or stories.
I think about even when I quit my corporate job, like I had a giant like rip of what I thought was my identity. Like I literally, when I decided I was going to quit, I literally cried, not even out of just like sadness, but more so mourning this old identity that I'd put to such a high pedestal, right? And I'd been working on for so freaking long, right? I prided myself on the fact that I was an engineer and a young Black female engineer, and I did all of this stuff, right? I was totally out of the norm. So who was I outside of that? Was I not someone who supported STEM? Was I someone who supported STEM? Like, did I think like, what does that mean to me, right? And what was I going to tell people? Oh, I quit engineering. Like, how much shame would I feel in that, right? But these are all just labels we put on ourselves. And we hold our identity to that when that's not actually who we are. And once we start to let go of these labels, we can really take a step back to think about who are we at our essence and our core, and what were we put on this earth really to do? Not necessarily what we think we're supposed to do or what society thinks is the best thing to do. And I don't know 100% how to tie this all back to real estate. And I don't think it necessarily has to be tied back into real estate. But yeah,
Yeah. Um,
But it's like the
it-
second I let go of that, I had the freedom to create the person I really wanted to be, right? And to like, or and to be the person I've always been, but suppressed because of what I thought I was supposed to be.
I think like it seems like a hero's journey moment of when you like really could let that go is probably when you could get off antidepressants and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was like a moment you crossed the threshold of like, I was holding on to this identity and, you know, it was a job. It was not me. And the second I let go of that, I don't know if it's around the same time, but like, you know, you got off of antidepressants because you realized like who you really were and who you really wanted to be. And you lived for that person instead of sticking to who you thought you had to be.
Yeah.
Hmm. And would you say like your, because you seem like very in tune with who you are, and but like, were you at all like that before? Like, did you believe in all this? Like, were you as woo woo as you are now?
No, not even
Okay.
remotely. Like,
You're
no.
a scientist.
No, I did the science. Like, I liked astrology, but like, I've never really paid attention to. Like, I like personality tests. I like astrology, but I was never like, oh yes, this is gospel. And it's not that I think it's gospel now, but I think there's so much more to it than we ever, like, especially as a scientist, right, and a mathematician, ever gave credit to.
Yeah. So that's just been like an aspect of kind of rediscovering who you really are without that identity that you were married to. Um, do you have any like advice for people who maybe they're like they have this identity that they're comfortable in and like they're okay with their life, or you know, maybe they don't like their job situation, but it's a part of their identity. But in order to transition into the next chapter that they know that they know is meant for them, like how do they go from one identity and move into the next? How do they do that for themselves?
I literally am kind of going through, and it's not necessarily an identity shift, but it's more like a tap back into your authenticity. And so I literally am doing this right now because I'm doing this like woo-woo challenge thing.
Mhm.
Because when we start to like be our authentic selves, the person we were always meant to be, that's when we become magnetic. That's when the things that we always wanted in life start to come to us with so much ease. So here, and I can actually screenshot and send you a lot of these questions, but here's some questions you need to ask yourself. Like, is if you didn't have to do anything that you're supposed to do, like go to work and all of that, what would you spend most of your time and energy on? When nobody was watching in your day-to-day life, what would you do? List your top 4 things. What would you spend most of your money on? What are you budgeting for? Like, not things you think you're supposed to have, but what are things you actually want? And when you think of wanting money, what are the things that come to mind when you're like, oh, this is what I want money for? That isn't like basic survival basic. Well, don't say that, but you know what I mean. Like, where are you the most reliable in your life? Like with whom, in what situations, in what social settings? What do you find yourself talking about the most? Like what actually lights you up, whether it's the subjects that interest you the most. Think about your ideal day. What would be included that brings you the most joy? If you were to treat yourself to something special today, like, and there were no constraints, what would you do? What would that be? When it comes to time online, like what do you love learning the most about? What do you find yourself researching? What books, YouTube videos, blogs do you like listen to? Think back to childhood. What were the things you loved and cared about as a kid? What games, books, activities, or places? So for example, I realized for me, like my favorite games were literally The Sims, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Diner Dash. And I realized like all of that reasons I loved like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Diner Dash, where one, they were fun, colorful games, but also optimization. Like I literally love optimizing things so much. And like, I love figuring out how to like make systems freaking work, right? Even when I think about The Sims, part of it, you know how you'd like use the mother, I don't know if you play The Sims or not, but like I always try to hoard the most amount of money so that I could build the most incredible houses that are super freaking cool and like design them in really beautiful spaces. And that's part of why I love design and in spaces. And I love money because I know that with a shit ton of it, I can do the craziest things, right? And that's why I love business and why I love building. And like a lot of that, like we forget about what we did in our childhood, right? And so much of that will help you bring back your authentic self because you weren't like as impacted back then by society, by your environment, by what you thought you were supposed to do. So thinking back to things like those, and I'll send you you should actually do these. These are fun. I like 30 to 40 minutes this morning just writing stuff out. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. And like business science and all.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Well, what would you say though? And this is like, it gets kind of personal and it crosses that line, but I feel like other people might feel this way too. Where for me, I know that my passion in life is music. Like, I know that's deep down what I was born to do.
Yeah.
And I cannot pursue music, I feel like, until I am like financially independent, financially free. I feel like a lot of people are in that situation, you know, where they want to spend their life doing this thing that they know they were meant to do, but this money thing is in the way. So like, we're not necessarily passionate about money or real estate or anything like that, but we're passionate about what it might allow us to do. Like, do you have any ideas for those people?
Well, so take this for example. I'm not passionate about real estate. Real estate, honestly, I don't care. Real estate, I like what it provides me. It gave me the time, the space, the energy to actually start doing the things that I love. Like I love coaching. I get energized when I hop on a call with one of my coaching students and they're like, wow, this was so amazing. I'm like, yeah, it was amazing. That gives me life. Do I love managing properties? No. But it's way better than having my corporate job and like feeling the need to go to work every day. And like, I'm able to plug out off of that and hire people to help me with the parts that I don't like about it. And like, I think it all just comes back to your why. Like real estate is the vehicle. Money is the vehicle to get you more of what you want, right? But first you also have to be in tune with what even like lights you up. And the more, so think about it like this. If you can get this vehicle to give you more time to do the things that you love, that is why you kind of like go through that vehicle, right? So it's like we take the car to get to the place, we take the plane to get to the country that we want to go. We love being in the plane, not particularly, right? We love the destination and where we're going, and we have that so clear in our mind, and we're so freaking excited and lit up about that destination. And that's why we got to get clear about like what brings out our authentic self. And whenever we're taking the steps to get the property and stuff like that, and we start implementing those systems, also think of it as a reward system of how much, like what more can you give yourself once you get that thing? So like, let's say it is that first property. Something I always do. Whenever I close on a property and get it set up, I book a trip. I'm out of here. Like literally every single property. My first one, I went to Costa Rica the day I hit live. This time I went to Argentina. The other time I took myself to Portugal for a few months. Like the first time I'm like, no, I took myself to Mexico after every property. And it's like, it gives you that extra energy to go and do more of the thing that you love,
Okay, y'all, do I have something exciting for you? Now, I just came out with a brand new free training on exactly how you can get started investing in real estate within the next 3 months. Because if you're someone who wants more freedom in your life, the ability to travel the world and do the things that you actually want to do in life, you're going to want to listen up. Trust me. Now, this training is freaking awesome. I literally go in and spill the tea on the number one strategy that is working right now, like literally today in today's market. And I go over how to look at deals and make sure that they actually cash flow, and how to set your properties up so that you can run them from anywhere in the world. Like I literally have managed my properties from over 6 different time zones. So if you are stuck in analysis paralysis, you don't know where to start when it comes to real estate investing, but you know that it's something that you want to do in the future, this training is going to be for you. So to check it out, click the link in the show notes or DM me the word hack, like HACK on Instagram, and I will send you the link. Now let's dive back into the show.
Yeah. So make sure you continue, like you're touching that thing continually.
So and like, let's think about this with music for yourself. Like what is your ideal, what is it that you love about music? And like, what would you like to have more of in your life in terms of that?
I love performing. I love creating. I would love to.
What's stopping you from performing more and creating more?
The fact that like, I feel like I'm building this vehicle now. And I'd rather just put my head down and like do it now so I can have it later. I feel like I'm kind of putting it away for now, which I've come to terms with. It's been like this for like years. So,
but I guess, is there a way where you could, even if it's like an extra 30 minutes, or even if it's one performance a month or two, right? Or if you hit certain milestones where you were like, okay, cool, this gives me the opportunity now to like go and find one performance to go do, right? And that like motivates you, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to keep hitting these milestones because I want to do more of these, right? Versus like, no, I know what to do, and like restricting everything. Because sometimes with that restriction too, it repels you from getting the thing that you actually want, because you're like, no, I refuse to do this, versus like, okay, well, instead, let's bring more of that into my life. I feel more joy on a day-to-day basis because I am getting to do that. And it pushes me to work even harder so I can do more of this.
Yeah. I think even if I just had like my practice pad or something like that, and I could just jam out for 10 minutes, like that would be enough.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why really like restrict? I'm just like, so it's not that I'm against restriction. I restrict myself in different ways, but it doesn't come from like not necessarily a punishment, more so a reward, and like for taking the steps to getting me even closer to what I want to get to,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I feel like there's touching that aspect, which is important. But then I feel, like doing more of what you like, but then there's also the aspect of people know they shouldn't be doing something that, and this is talked about in the, like self-sabotage concept of like so many people, including like me and my fiance, like get home from work, we're pooped for the day, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Mm-hmm. But like we watch like 2 or 3 episodes of Grey's Anatomy, and like so many people do that, but I don't know what to do. Like, should you give yourself time? Should you use that time more wisely? Like, I know you've been through phases where you said like, I used to watch TV, now I don't. But like, how do you get that?
I think like it, and I think like, and then this is what I keep continuously learning. We always have this like ideal, perfect situation of how we want to be. It's never going to be that every single day, like realistic, and not even realistic is the wrong thing, but you don't want it to be like that every single day, because you're going to get bored of it and then want a different something else. Mm-hmm. So there are seasons, and there are seasons where I am not watching TV. I'm so enthralled in whatever else I'm doing. But then there are other seasons where I'm like, you know what? No, my brain's tired and I need to veg out, and I think maybe that's doing nothing. And so, but like, it's once again getting into, because if you're feeling resistance to that, if you're like thinking about what you're doing right now, and it's like you're watching TV and you've kind of been in this rut, that probably means you got to get out of it, right? Like you need to make a change. If it's a situation where it's actually fueling you though, and you're like, I need this time to veg out to feel better and be my better self tomorrow, that's different. So you need to take inventory for yourself, and you can literally like put it in a spreadsheet. You can write down all the things that you're doing, or write it down and give it a scale from 1 to 5 in terms of, is this helping me or is this hindering me? Like, what are my emotions and feelings behind this one act, right? And that's the change per day. Some days, me watching Netflix is a solid 5. This is helping me. I'm good. Like, other days I'm like, this is dumb. And I'd watch like 8 episodes and I'm now going to bed really late and then really kind of stupid and it's not helping me. What I should be doing. And I know I should be doing and I'm procrastinating at this point.
So really get in tune with your feeling, and are you using it? Is it genuinely doing something for you, or are you using it to stay comfortable when you know you should be doing something more?
Right. So, and then we can take this for so many different parts of life. So working out, for example, some days working out is a solid, most days I would say working out is a solid 5. If I'm so sore, I can barely walk, I'm just like in pain or I'm injured, working out's a 1. And I think about this weekend, like it was snowing out, like I could have gone on a hike, but honestly, I was just so busy with this house. There were other things that I really wanted to get done. Usually I'm like, oh, I go on a hike every weekend, but it was a solid tool for me this weekend in comparison, right? And so take inventory of that. And I would say you can even give them a task, right? For the next week, take inventory of the different tasks that you're doing each day and we'll give it a rating, right? So that you're aware of your mood and how you feel and like start shifting yourself to put the things that you want to be higher on the scale.
And yeah, like list the tasks that you did. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. And then like, I guess, because then you have to look at your options too, right? And be like, well, if I know this is a 1, what would be a 5? And I guess you could take an inventory of all the actions you do, and then you could start kind of like placing them in like, oh, that feels like a 4 or 5. Like I'm going to replace this one with a better option.
Totally. But seriously, what is stopping you from doing like an extra 10 minutes of music a day? Or even a week, right? You don't have to start big, but just a week, just to give you some joy is good. We don't know. We can literally die tomorrow. Okay. So why are you depriving yourself from all the joy from something that's really not going to take away from what you're working towards? It's probably going to motivate you even more to have more hours like that. So that's just my own opinion, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think you can afford to give 10 minutes because to me, it's like, oh, I don't have 10 minutes.
Well, like also think about realistically, are you using every minute super efficiently? No, you're probably not. Okay, if you're head down all the time, I think about this with corporate America when they make your 8-hour days. We're not working 8 hours. It's literally impossible,
Yeah. So, yeah.
Computer day for me, which I don't have too many, like I do stuff on the computer, but I break them up quite a bit. Yesterday was a big sit down and do stuff. But even then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go like unpack this for a second. And I'm going to go do blah, blah, blah. So those like in between times, let's like move them towards doing more things that we enjoy.
Yeah. So embracing like seasonality and then getting into, I think that would be a good framework. I think that would be a good framework for you to like think about and develop, because it sounds like you have a lot of experience with that. And I think just getting people off the couch and spending time on other things that are important to them, I think that's what a lot of people kind of struggle with, is like divorcing themselves from the life they know.
Yeah.
Every day, Yeah. So seasonality is like,
I know. I kind of want to just like crop this and make it a podcast episode and just be like, here's a fun month.
Yeah.
Little excerpt.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I made it to it and see.
Might as well.
Right?
Okay. Gotcha. Do you have like a story of that? Because I know, like, I mean, I want to turn this into something, but I want it to be obviously more about you. So I know you said like you used to spend most nights like drinking wine, watching Netflix and, stuff like that before you got into all this. So how did you get from that to here? That's a big question, and maybe we could
Yeah, I
break
mean,
that
I
a
think
little
it's
bit.
really enough pain, honestly. I mean, actually, no, I have a very clear. So I had a panic attack. I had invited a bunch of friends over for this thing called Red Cross Run in New Orleans, and it was just like everyone pregame at my house, and then we'll walk over to the French Quarter and do little Red Cross Run things and be drunk all day. But I was already feeling like weird. This job is not it. Like, where am I taking my life? Blah, 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 blah. I'd applied to a couple of jobs and gotten to the last round and didn't get it because I didn't have any experience because I was applying for jobs I actually had zero experience with, but I really didn't want to be an engineer anymore. That's how much I was like, get me out where I set myself up for failure in the sense, like, it's almost like I also knew that I didn't actually want another corporate job. But so we go to the French Quarter. I'm pretty drunk and I just had a straight up panic attack, like out at the bars. I'm like, I need to go home. I just don't feel good. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? And just sitting on the couch, I remember I'd like started running home and someone Ubered me home. Sitting on the couch just wallowing, like, what am I doing? Why is this isn't the life that I wanted. Like, I just get home and I'm so over it every single day. This cannot be my life. And that was when I drunkenly signed up for the giveaway for the conference. And that is literally when everything kind of changed. And it's not like everything changed that moment, but at that moment when I won the tickets a couple of days later, I was like, I have to go. This is a sign. This is the universe telling me. But ever since then, I will say I try not to wait for those monumental pieces. And now I just check in with myself so much more frequently, right? Like every month, I'm checking in with myself. It's like, am I actually working towards, is this getting me closer to the goal? Is this getting me closer to the lifestyle that I want to live? Is this getting me closer to what I said I wanted a year ago? And is it something I still even want, right? Because I think sometimes we also get stuck in, these are our goals that we set for ourselves. And then we get through the year or through a couple of years, you're like, do I actually want that? But yeah, I would say that was the catalyst for me, like stepping into what I really wanted, you know?
I didn't know that was the backstory behind the conference.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think that adds a whole other layer of it where, I think it's important in the marketing and stuff like that, in your content, to talk about the external achievements that you've had, but it's a whole nother thing to talk about the internal like growth that you've had.
Yeah.
And I think that is like a really good thing, a really good example of, you're human and how you've developed like through that. And I think it's interesting that it started by feeling enough pain. You said that's because I think, yeah, like sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, unfortunately. And
Well, and I think like that's what stops most people is they just don't feel the pain enough. Right. And so you just keep like rubbing it in your life. No, it's not that bad. And I want to do this, and that's why such monumental things happen when people die, when you get laid off of your job, when you have a huge health scare, and it's like, and I talk to a bunch of people about this, but it's like, how do we get people to stop waiting until rock bottom? And to be fair, I think a lot of time we just need to hit rock bottom, but like you don't have to as well. You can get there before then.
I think that would be a great part of that, like action taking framework, like, because that is such a good thing. Like maybe you can like induce that from a positive place, like you said, we could die tomorrow. Like you need to think about that. Like that's a real thing. Because that's what happened with you. Like you had a thought of like, I don't want this to be my life. And then it kind of spiraled from there. And that's a form of checking in with yourself. Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I think I have like 3 emails here that we can make from all this.
No, I think I'm actually going to make this into a podcast episode. This is great.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I think it like helps when it's like less scripted too, just to think through the process. And so many, like, these are the kind of conversations, these are the ones you have whenever you join like coaching groups and masterminds and things like those that tend to be like kept behind closed doors. And the more I can show people, right, like, these are the conversations you need to be having. This is what's going to help you break through those barriers, right? I think it's just so important.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you think? I hope you liked that episode. Like I said, totally different than any of my other episodes. Very unscripted, just things kind of coming out of my brain as they do. And also Brent, just being such a curious human being. Like, this is why I love him as my copywriter, was really asking the right questions because him himself was feeling stuck. So this is what you get whenever you get into coaching and whenever you really start working on yourself and working on self-improvement and self-development and really trying to stretch yourself and push yourself to even bigger and greater levels. So I hope you like this. If you enjoyed this style of podcast episode, let me know, okay? Because if so, I've got a lot of content like this. And if you guys like this, I would be happy to like put more of this out there. So DM me on Instagram. Just let me know, hey, I really like this style of video, or no, that really wasn't quite my style. Let me know. That's the only way that I can keep providing content for you that you actually enjoy and that's going to be helpful. Okay, that's all for today. Bye, fam. Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.